like Skyhawk.
Okay.
Centennial.
Oh.
That was
Right. And you're unpaused.
unpaused.
All right. Well, thanks for joining, everyone. We will go ahead and get the June 18th meeting of the Lewis and Clark County Metro Region Governance Committee of the Montana Opioid Abatement Trust started. It is 3:00 p.m. As far as roll call is concerned, Commissioner Rolfe here, Mayor Collins not here, Colleen Fitt here, and James Petrovich is not here. We have minutes to approve from the last two meetings, February 19th and March 12th. We can do those together. There's a motion to approve the minutes from the last two meetings.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? No. And we do have a quorum with 3 of us, so luckily we are here. All right, so some correspondence review. We did receive some correspondence from the MOAT. There was a June update email from June 11th. Did anybody have any questions about that email? That would have been the memo, just for consideration's sake. Just went over some of the metro regions, what they have submitted for ultimate approval by the state board. Butte Silverbow, Flathead, and Lewis and Clark County, as well as Yellowstone County. So that's great to see money heading out the door. Any questions about those? All right, seeing none. And then the next MOAT meeting is July 10th, which is why we wanted to meet, so that if we have anything to submit for approval, we can do so. And still have a little bit of time for discussion or any deliberation about the applications. Next on the agenda, number 4, moving through quickly, we have a status update on a funded project, which is, in one moment, we have a message here from James Petrovich. He's coming up the hill, almost here, so he can join us when he gets here. Is a status update on Lewis and Clark County Detention Center medical provider that we recommended and was approved for funding. They have a 6-month report, and Anne has some information for us.
So Anne McCauley, liaison to this committee for the county, but also the Lewis and Clark County Grants and Purchasing Director. Regarding this project that was funded in mid-December, so that's why we're up on, or it came under contract, I should say, award in mid-December. So we are at that 6-month mark. Happy to report out that we had a successful solicitation. So we went out for a full RFP on this for through probably the rest of FY26. And we'll talk about this maybe in the next items here, but if they do seek additional funding from the opioid, the MOAT money, they'll likely be an FY27 request.
Question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
How do we view this? You know, since it was approved some time ago, and we've got some of these where we haven't actually spent the money yet, I guess, and would we view this as having pushed into the next area, or that money that it's actually just using that first year money, and then we have to deal with it separately if we were to move forward? I don't know whether the timing for the year's worth of work is different than it might be the ones that were started earlier.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rolfe, I think in this case it'll be kind of what you described in the second part, that it will just, the money, as you know, the MOAT is sending the money up front to awardees.
Mhm.
And so in this case, none of the money has been expended yet. So they'll just use this funding probably through the end of June of 26. And this is what the contract amount is for, for the award amount in this case. And then, yeah, they'll have a a second application or an invite from this committee to apply again. As we've spoken about, this is kind of an interesting part of the way that the funding is working through the statewide trust is timing of it's not really necessarily aligned with fiscal years and the years that you're. So.
In looking, if I might, Mr. Chair, if we might look at it, it appears we've got about 105,000 less coming probably for this next fiscal year. And two of our awardees were people that had asked for a longer time period. We only guaranteed them the money for one time. I think we ought to maybe talk about how we want to do that. Whether we want to consider them first, or if we want to look at other people as well.
Yeah, I guess that segues into the next
Sure,
item.
yeah.
Ready for that?
We can, thank you for the update. I do have one question then to get back to yours, Commissioner, but for you on number 4, I'll also recognize that Mr. Petrovich is here as well, so thanks, James, for being here today. Can you name the provider, or not until the contract has been approved by the county commissioners?
Provider, it's Jacob Kale.
Oh, okay.
Or CAIL, and I believe it's
Montana Primary or Helena Primary Care. Okay.
Thank you, Helena Primary Care. I would HPC is
Yeah.
it, and you.
He was just at a chamber event yesterday, so I met him there.
Yeah.
I did not know that he was the named provider. So.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and as soon as I do get the actual written report from Stephanie McGowan, the MOAT program manager, we'll get it out to the whole committee.
Thank you.
But James, for what it's worth, we just finished RFP and the solicitation, and we're nearing the end of contract negotiation. It's near finalized.
That's
So
great.
we hope to have that provider in the detention center starting around July 1.
All right, well, then we'll move on and continue to answer Commissioner Rolf's question. To number 5, available funding. Looks like we have $495,059.51 available for FY26. Knowing that that is a smaller amount than we had available last fiscal year, we were aware that there was kind of a stepped approach to the funding. The next 2 years, though, are both the same. Is that correct, Ann?
Yes, FY27 will be around 400,000.
Okay.
And then whatever doesn't get expended this year will roll over.
So, but knowing that we have less to spend in the year's future, to your point in question, Commissioner Rolf, my opinion is that, and as we've kind of presented it to folks, I guess we weren't explicitly clear, but we provided 1 year of funding, knowing that we didn't know what the next year's would look like. My inclination is that we request new applications annually, just because we don't know what the year's future will look like. And we, depending on how the settlement continues, there may, I don't want to say there will, there definitely may be some funding available even after that if there was additional settlement funding. So, and or if there's carryover. So I think just knowing those unknowns, that it would be, in my opinion, that we ask for new applications each fiscal year, or when their funding is up.
I think that makes good sense. I really do. Just and whether they're meeting the goals that they set for themselves too. Yeah,
and that would be part of the questioning that we have the ability to do. But is that kind of a overall? I don't think we need to vote on that, but an overall consensus of how you all feel as well. Just annual applications and annual funding, just because we don't know what's coming and what's.
I think that makes good sense.
Does that answer your question then as well, Commissioner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in Ann's information that was provided, it is helpful to know what was requested of the organizations for this cycle currently. But also thank you for breaking that down into funding buckets for the first year. Because that does help. And then is for those in the room, just so you're aware, we will ask you, of course, and make sure that, so you can prepare yourselves now, that is that a possibility and still interest for you in moving these applications forward if you were only funded for a year, the request was only made for that 1 year, so. All right, so.
Another question that I might ask Ann if I could, Mr. Chair. I see we've got a funding available of $495. Does that include the approximately 95 that wasn't allocated before?
Yes, it does.
In the first fiscal year.
Yes, so the allocation of 400,000 for FY 26, but then plus the 95,000 that rolled over.
So then 27 would be 400.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect.
And I kind of like that we had a little bit of a savings moving in. Our stair step was maybe more gradual than I would have been otherwise. So hopefully that's helpful. We can provide more opportunity for local applicants. The other. Okay, that's on number 7. I will wait to get to that till we get to that point. The review of funded projects, we kind of went through, but if you do look at the table that was provided by Ann, it does go through what it looks like for what the request was and what the yearly breakdown is. Of course, what we're seeing is we have more of a request than we have funds. But am I seeing that correctly? That would not be. So that would be.
Yeah, that's correct, that there's higher requests for funds than what is available for FY 27 or 26, excuse me.
When you did the full request, is that taking into consideration the year 2 funding?
The 500 and you see what you're picking up on.
So I'm seeing the request that we currently have before us at 50, 106, 791.
It's the whole thing.
That's the whole thing.
Oh, that's good. Okay, excuse me thank you.
No,
That didn't.
so we have a request of 272, if my math is correct, which I would encourage anybody to double check. 272, 226 for year 1, based on the applicants that we currently have. But as we saw last cycle, they came in all year long. It wasn't, we don't have a due date. They're rolling. So is that correct, Ian? 272, 226.
Well, and Mr. Chair, we haven't even addressed the multiple. These are just Lewis and Clark. So.
Yeah, so 272,226 is correct.
Okay. And 573, 548 would be if we took the entire amount of the request into
Yes.
consideration. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ian. All right. So there's a review of what we've got. Now we've got a discussion with our new funding requests. And we have, it looks like, all 4 here today. We'll just go in the order that they're here. And what we're asking is that you stay to a 5-minute limit, just so that we can stay on task ourselves and then have time to have a conversation and ask you all questions. I'll just time it and just let you know when the 5 minutes is expired, and if you could just wrap up at that point. So because we do want to definitely hear what you have to say, but we are going to stay with a little bit of a limit. Did everybody get a chance to go into the portal and review the applications in full otherwise?
I have not.
Okay. And what happens typically for those of you that are here is we'll have a conversation about the applicants, and then oftentimes we will table them and we'll have a remote meeting to kind of absorb it, make sure everybody's reviewed the full application, and then make a decision about it so that there's some time. We don't just make the decision typically while you're all here, but that's what happens today. We will see what the group wants to do. So, okay, so we'll go ahead and get started on the YWCA Helena, the WINGS program.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Denise King, the interim director of the YWCA. Thank you for this time to present our application. So the WINGS program is an 18 to 24 month program addressing women that have mental health and addiction disorders. They come to us as the first stop, well, maybe the second stop in the recovery. So they're with us 18 to 24 months. The first 9 months, they go into intensive treatment. They're not able to work during that time. They're in therapy throughout the day, a variety of different sources of therapy. And then once they have graduated out of the first 90 days, some people a little bit longer than 90 days, then they're able to start working in the community and reuniting with their families. If they don't have the children when they come to us, they can help them start to reunite with their children. Our population has changed from 2019, 50% of our women were single with no kids. In 2024, 80% of our women either had or were working on reuniting with their children. We're requesting $50,000 for the year. $35,000 will help offset some of our shelter costs. It costs roughly $145,000 a year just to operate the building, not the programs, but just the building. Utility costs are quite high in a 100-year-old building. We're trying to address that with some construction that's going on right now. A lot of them don't have transportation, so we would help them with bus passes, or we have our van that we do take folks to the justice system, to doctor's appointments. The food bank, we have some women's medical providers are out of our city, that there's only a few that are specialized in the type of addictions that they need to address. A lot of them come directly from a secured facility, in-house treatment with nothing. They have their jammies. That's what they come to us with on the bus, with jammies, nothing else. So we are providing them with clothes. We'll provide them for the first 3 days of meals. So we need help with offsetting that and then getting them into the appointments and getting them clothes and the personal necessities that need. The other, so that's $35,000 that would help offset those costs, and the other 15 would be training our providers. We have 4 co-occurring therapists. They're licensed in addiction and mental health. And just with teachers, things change. There's always new science, evidence-based models to help families grow in their recovery. So some of that is training, helping with CEUs, and then there's some highly recommended training that's just coming out from the national organization. So helping with offset those costs. Our goal is to decrease the reoccurrence of substance use, increase mother-child reuniting, increase their opportunities to graduate from the program, and either full-time or education. We had 4 ladies that graduated last year, and all of them are in higher education at this point, and the honor roll. And then we provide services once they leave our program. We continue servicing them, providing service to them at whatever they need to continue in the recovery process. Then increasing the stabilization of families. The benefit is successful, healthy family relationships, stabilizing recovery, and helping them become part of our community and successful in moving forward. Our success rate, we track 3 years, 70 to 80% recovery, success rate in recovery. That's kind of my story right now. I can go on with the program, but I know there's a lot of opportunity here for folks that would like to present their programs. If you have any questions, I'm here. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Do you have any questions for?
If I might,
Yes, please.
Mr. Chair, I know you work with folks over a long period of time. What's the average person that you start working with? How long are they with you?
It all depends. We've had a family, a mother with 5 kids. They were with us for 4.5 years. So graduate from the program. If we're not able to help them find housing, they'll stay with us, and we'll continue providing services at a lesser rate. We've had folks 18 months work through the program, and we're able to go out in the community and reunite with their family, with their parents, their children and grandchildren. So it all depends on that person, and once we won't let somebody go out in the community with no place to go. We'll continue with that, and that's one of our things that we help them find their locations, and we work with all the different entities in town, get a long list, and then if they want to reunite with their family in another community, we work with that. We help a lady return to Pennsylvania. And so we worked with the agencies there in getting her set up, and we continue, we do tele, she'll call in and we continue our services with her, make sure that she's safe in that thing. So the folks that come with us, they have, some folks were, human trafficking, verbal abuse from childhood all the way through adulthood, and then finally finding us and helping us. So the stories are just amazing. We just did a survey, and right now we have 12 women in construction going on. 8 of them said if it wasn't for us, they would be dead. And their children, they fear what could happen to their children. A good program.
Go ahead.
Let's say, just thinking about kind of the intent of the funds and the primary area around opioids or opiate addiction prevention. And then the development of the staff, which I think are 2 really important things. Like what proportion, or do you know what percentage of your clients have a diagnosed opiate addiction or opioid addiction?
100%.
100%. Okay. That's helpful to know, because I mean, it just makes it more clear where the funds are kind of put into the purpose. So.
Good question.
Yeah.
I have a question kind of for the group, and I was trying to log into the moat. I locked myself out. But it might be in your notes that I see, Colleen, is kind of to the point of your question, James, is that the funding can't go to supplemental costs. Am I correct with that? And when you're in the portal, in the question and answer portion, there was a parenthesis that indicated it could be supplemental, that it had to go directly toward something. Now, not saying that what you do couldn't be something of that, but
So we receive no funding for the operating costs. We receive funding for the therapy, but there's no funding sources for our utility or for their clothing or for their food. So this would be supplying, this will help us fill the gap that we have in the operations of the facility. Our utilities right now are Northwest Energy 1,400. The winter it's been up to 2,200. Our lowest has been 800. Our water, for whatever reason, is doubled. We can't quite figure out what's happening with that, because we've gone through the building. There's nothing leaking. So just the utility cost, and then we provide internet access for the folks that they can take online classes or communicate with family that's not here in Helena. We have higher success rate with people that aren't in Helena than families that are in Helena. It'll go back to their old routine, their old support is there, and that then we don't see them again.
So it sounds like you've got funding from a variety of sources, but you fundraise generally to support the facility, probably through the year you're fundraising. So it's kind of almost as the money comes in, you're spending it to a degree.
Yeah.
Okay.
We get 70% of Fed grants that will pay for the services, the therapy.
Right.
Then it's 30% roughly is what we're fundraising or finding other grant sources to help offset the cost of our operation.
Any other questions, Ms. King? Seeing none, thank you so much for your time, and you're welcome to stay and listen. Whatever you prefer to do.
I'd like to say it's a learning opportunity.
One question, one just comment I would make. I think as I was reading the application, when it started to get into like the evaluation piece, and you spoke to a lot of like really kind of big impacts that this funding could have, like family reunification. Those are really, I think, hard to measure ultimately, to take 50,000 and really extrapolate it out. I think it makes sense that it could support that. I think one thing that I would say is I would really be looking for something, this might seem oversimple, but if you can tell me that this 35,000 will support X additional nights of shelter for a woman, to me, that's an outcome I can get behind versus like this bigger thing that would ultimately almost be impossible to measure. And I think the training piece, I love that you had in there some things about actually like increased understanding and knowledge. I think that is, I appreciated those outcomes because I think that's what we're trying to do with this money is see how the needle really does change or move. So they don't have to be these big elaborate things. They can be really simple things that I think are also important. Did I make any sense when I said that?
I would agree with you, and we've asked that of all of our awarded applicants as it is, that we want more focused outcomes and that we can show what this funding has gone towards. So I think that's a good.
So,
Thank you.
when we provided 5,800 nights of shelter for women, and it was 4,700 for children in 24, rough number off the top of my head, is what we provide for that. So 25 is gonna look a little different because I've capped our occupancy to 12 because of the construction that's going on. We're putting in air conditioning and new windows on the third floor. Each floor has 12 units. So in order to accommodate our construction, we're capping it for 5 months at 12 people. Then once the construction done August, then we're gonna open it. Milwaukee in 25, but to accommodate what we had to do is move everybody one floor. That's right. I left, we had 5 subs on the floor and 15 volunteers painting. So we can move folks from the second to the third and then we can start construction on the second.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Thank you very much. Our next presenter is Intermountain Children's Services, expansion of Intermountains Day Treatment Program. We have Jamie here to present today.
Hey, thanks for the opportunity to introduce myself. I'm Jamie Pelagi and I'm the CEO for Intermountain Children's. I've been there a little over a year, but my entire career has been dedicated to kids and families. We are grateful for the opportunity to talk to you about day treatment and to apply for funding to expand it to continue services for youth in Lewis and Clark County. We have had a reach from public schools for some help in this area, and we're committed to answering the call for help. We just need a little bit of startup money to do it in order to deliver service. So Intermountain holds multiple licenses from the state of Montana. We're nationally accredited. Last year, we served 1,200 individuals in our various programs, most of them here in Lewis and Clark County. So our continuum of services include outpatient therapy, school-based and home support services, parent education, case management, psychiatric medication support, day treatment, occupational and speech therapy, and then intensive residential treatment on our campus up south of Lamborn. So at Intermountain, we know that drug misuse is almost always connected to individuals experiencing significant emotional distress and or associated with mental health issues. Often these individuals have high ACE scores or adverse childhood experiences. We know, especially with our kids who are experiencing emotional distress, trauma, or mental health issues, their likelihood of turning to drugs is high. There are some kids who are experiencing so much trauma and mental illness and other risk factors that they are not able to learn and attend public school alongside of their peers. And that risk is getting higher, which is why schools have reached out asking for help. So these kids are often at risk of dropping out, which then exacerbates turning to substances as another strategy. You can imagine that this causes incredible stress on the school system, the family system, the peers, and the child themselves. And so local school districts have asked for some help, including East Helena, where they've identified significant unmet needs for children requiring therapeutic intervention that's integrated with their education. So how that works is that at Intermountain on campus, we have an accredited private school where we offer day treatment services, which means we meet their educational needs and their therapeutic needs at the same time through integrated trauma-informed practices. So our model includes a trained certified classroom teacher, elementary ed or special ed, 2 mental health specialists, and a therapist. Our class sizes are very small with 10 children. And so that way they can be supported in all of their mental health needs while also working to achieve their individualized education plans. We meet children where they are. We assess their behavior needs and their drug use risks while partnering with their home school district and their families to build individualized supports. And we provide wraparound services. So if the family needs therapy, we're providing therapy to the family as well. Our model says that we can't just fix a kid, we got to work with everybody. You can't just take a kid, take care of them and send them back and expect everything to be okay. We have to do it all together. And so that's an important fundamental piece of what we do. Our goal is to expand our day treatment program. So the ask from districts is, can we bring our kids to you? And so we're trying this out right now in East Helena with one child that they're busing to us. And so he buses, spends time in our upper elementary, middle school classroom, and then buses back. And then we work together in tandem to meet his individualized education plan and then provide his behavioral health supports as well. They have so much need for more kids. And we are at a place where they're looking for younger kids. And so now we have to find more personnel to do that. We need to open another elementary age classroom. And so to do that, we need a new teacher, a new therapist, and mental health specialist. Once we have those things all recruited, hired, trained, as you can imagine, it's specialty training in addition to their regular training, then we'll be able to take kids and then bill for those services so that there's built-in sustainability in partnership with the school district. So the funding that we've asked for, we did ask for 2-year funding. We're very open to doing this on a year-over-year basis. The idea would be that each year we would expand and serve more kids in our campus as needed. And so we're looking to add at least 4 more kids, which would allow us to serve 20 kids by spring of 2026 in our day treatment program. And essentially it really would just be startup costs, hiring, paying for those salaries for the first year. And then the way that the model is reimbursed actually doesn't come back until a year later, and they have to be kids that are eligible for Medicaid funding for therapeutic support as well. So that's why we're here, hoping that maybe this is an opportunity to do more prevention of at-risk behaviors and support kids and eventually get them back into their home school in a way that's supported as well, which is one of the things we can help provide as we do community-based services in schools as well. In East Helena, primarily, Helena Public Schools has asked us to join them again as well. So we appreciate your consideration. And I just think there's no higher need than working to prevent drug use and abuse among our children and in supporting kids and families in their mental health journey. As one former client said to me when I first met her when I started, who was in this program years ago, she said, Intermountain gave me a life worth living. And that's why we're here. That's why we're doing that work. And so if you can help us do that work, we'd be so grateful.
Thanks so much, Jamie. Questions? Do you want to start?
That you mentioned in your abstract, local school districts, including East Helena. I was just curious if there was any other rural schools.
Yeah, so Clancy Public Schools has asked for help as well. So we're in initial conversations with them. And then we've also been in conversations with Helena Public Schools too. They do have a day treatment program housed in a public school in partnership with Show Dare, but it's sounding like there's just more need than anyone can provide.
So Clancy's not in Lewis and Clark.
Right. Yeah. We would prioritize Lewis and Clark first. And East Helena has been the one so far that's been really looking for support. But we would be open to working with anyone. We are here to serve our neighbors.
So when I was looking at your budget, some things that stuck out was number one, you've addressed that it was multi-year and you're okay or open to 1 year. The other is some of the costs seem, I wanted to hear the rationale behind them. There was $30,000 in bonuses that would have been, that's requested as part of the budget. Can you explain to whom those are for and kind of the workforce needs?
Yeah, so hiring bonuses really, right? So as you can imagine, we are not able to pay our teachers what the public schools pay. And we do have an extended school year. So that's another thing that someone has to make a decision to do, because our kids are with us pretty much every month of the year. So we have found just in general in behavioral health that sign-on bonuses are sometimes ways to get people in the door. They have to commit to us then for a period of time because it's a big investment for training and support and all of those things. And it's easier to manage those things rather than setting ourselves up for failure with a salary we couldn't continue over time. Ideally, we would be able to build that out and keep people longer for growth. Our staff stay with us once they come. It's just getting them in the door and getting them trained and supported. The other thing we have found is that referral bonuses are a really good strategy. Who better to pick their coworker to take on some of these hard jobs than someone who's already doing the job? And so those are some of those costs. Those are the costs that would be involved in bonuses.
So the program that you're trying to get is, which you mentioned, the little kiddo from East Helena being bussed over. Does that happen in the summer too? Okay.
And you said we're not able to pay our teachers what the school district is, so you're paying them less?
Yeah.
Okay. And if Intermountain were to be awarded this money and it was for 1 year, would that then allow you to do 2 kids, or would you do 4? And then with your hope and a prayer that you get some type of funding for the year
If I
following?
get a new classroom started, I can take 10 more kids, right? And then the other thing too, right, I want you to realize is the kids who live with us on campus, they're Lewis and Clark residents too.
Yeah.
Especially while they're living with us. And they stay with us about 18 months on average. The kids that are served in our residential programs are between ages of 4 and 14. We do not have any 4-year-olds right now. That would be really rare. 7, we have some 7-year-olds. Most of our kids who need us right now for residential are coming at us from 8 to 10 years old. So it would be serving kids up through 8th grade.
So to clarify then, if you were to get 1 year, it would actually support 10 kids.
10 kids in that classroom.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think as I look at it, Intermountain is in Lewis and Clark County. I know that we can't always control who those people are. I think the point is well taken, but and I appreciate that targeted to Lewis and Clark, whether that be even Wolf Creek to Augusta to wherever within our community. One of the things that I have mentioned oftentimes in this group is making sure that our rural communities are supported just as much as the city of Helena is.
Absolutely.
And so that's appreciated.
Chances are those rural communities have even less resources to support high needs kids, right? And so if they had a need and they called us, we'd want to figure out how to serve them.
Okay. Any other questions? Nothing online, I take it. All right.
I think I've got one. Can you talk a little bit about what sort of measurements you might make? How do we know you've had a success? You've got it there, but talk about that.
So we'll give you, some quantitative measurements, right? Number of kids enrolled. Will we meet those goals of hiring people, training, all of those pieces? That's there. We already have to demonstrate progress on individualized education plans. And so that's something that we could share with you as well. And then we also do the youth outcomes questionnaire and other things that we can give you measures on. In general, kids that are receiving services during our residential programs are seeing 78% increased positive behaviors rather than negative behaviors, so that we can give you that feedback as well.
Thank you.
Right. Anything else? Okay. Thank you so much. And again, you're welcome to stay if you'd like to. All right, the next one is the HOPES project, Montana Professional Health and Wellbeing Program. And as that is Ms. Branscombe.
Thank you much. My name is Jean Branscombe. I'm the CEO of the Montana Medical Association and also a member of a board that's submitting this application. It's the Montana Professional Health and Wellbeing Program Board. And appreciate and thank you for the work that you're doing in this particular space. One thing, just to give a little bit of background on the program board, is this is a board that is really focused and honed in regards to assistance that's needed for our healthcare professionals. It is one of the target occupations that's highly impacted by issues and have barriers that are hard to overcome for them to get early help. And so we oftentimes see people in a crisis before they start getting help, and particularly with substance use disorders, same thing with mental health issues. And this group of volunteers got together for that very purpose, is to find pathways forward to dive into that particular issue. And this program is, again, a program that would be a startup that has been identified by people on the board. So I think it's important for you to know that the folks on the board are addiction medicine physicians. They are behavioral health professionals, they're nurses, they're dentists, they're folks that are out there treating individuals with these particular conditions and chronic diseases. But they also see among their peers a high incidence of individuals that are having issues and do not seek treatment. And even our survey of physicians show that over 70% of physicians know a colleague that has needed help and does not seek help when they need it, and they don't do that in a timely fashion. So things that we know about this particular program, again, some background, is that healthcare professionals are, I call our bedside heroes. They are human just like anyone else. And from our addiction medicine physicians, we would project about 15% should be in some kind of treatment or counseling for some kind of issues related to substance use disorder or mental health. They have easy access to medications. And so that easy access oftentimes leads them to grab the medications that are readily available and divert that themselves. There are high levels. It's in the highest occupations for career burnout and for career fatigue. Nearly 50% of physicians show those symptoms, over 50% of nurses and behavioral health professionals, as they get more needs and places and demands placed on them because of the ability for folks to now get treatment, are experiencing those same kinds of high levels of burnout. So oftentimes they're grabbing a substance to deal with those particular issues rather than pick up the phone and do what they ask their patients to do, which is go get help, please. We've seen a huge workplace culture change with COVID as well. We have seen rising incidences of violence, particularly against our nurses that are professionals out there. Over 60% of assaults. It's one of the most assaulted professions. And again, that's causing people to leave, reduce hours, and certainly it decreases production inside the workplace itself. The other part is again, they don't seek treatment. There's a huge stigma for health professions themselves to go in and get treatment because they're referring people in there. They just don't want to do that themselves. So there's a huge stigma. They're licensed professionals. So a big barrier are the questions on our renewals and our licensure applications that ask if we've saw a mental health professional. And to answer yes to that is could be detrimental in restricting their license to practice. For physicians, that the license to practice for a training that they've done 11 to 15 years, to put that at risk by going to treatment is going to cause them to stay underground. Employment fears is another. They're going to fear also that there'll be a restriction in their employment area of what they can do. So oftentimes they don't get help as well. We know statistically less than 1% of physicians would go to an employee assistance program that would be offered by their own occupation or by their own workforce person. We also know cost is a huge barrier. So oftentimes we think of physicians earning a lot of money or nurses, but if they are in a licensure program, it can cost upwards of around $1,000 to participate in the program. They have to do monitoring. If they don't do the monitoring, it's a breakage of contract. It's a loss of license for them. So oftentimes, because they're not working, if they're in a crisis, they don't have income coming in. And so this program includes some help to pay for blood tests, urine tests to show that they're compliant. Other times they just stop the program and they just leave the occupation. And What we do now is that we just, we're not doing a good identity of these individuals that need help. And we don't have program availability that really target healthcare professionals. I think as we see peer support come forward, we need peer support to provide these training. It impacts all of us because it's an increase in medical errors. We see a loss of productivity. We see workforce leaving in an area that we see huge shortages. And the economic impact is huge. If you lose a physician in your economy, you lose $1 million out of the economy because of the jobs and the production they do.
And if you
This
could wrap
program-
up to Ms. Branscombe, please.
And the program, what it's going to do is it's going to survey individuals within the community to understand and assess where we're at in regards to that. We'll be educating healthcare leaders within the facility itself. We have a programmage by these experts to increase awareness of the treatment options. They don't know where they could go to get pure confidential help or new laws that have been passed. They'll promote self-referral. It will also inform them on the reporting requirements in their licensure pieces, connect them to available resources, and protect overall patient safety by getting individuals into programs much earlier. So again, the uniqueness of this is, again, these are professionals that do this all the time. This is a big hole in our system now. There isn't programs that target healthcare professionals, and that's what this program is intended to do, is to really grow a program inside our healthcare facilities, change that culture within the healthcare facility here locally.
Thank you so much. Questions for Ms. Branscombe?
Is this a statewide initiative or is this proposal just for Lewis and Clark County?
So this proposal in front of you is going to be just for Lewis and Clark County.
And you would be then targeting all care providers from the large hospital to individual providers.
To private practice, right? That's part of the challenge. We have obviously a large number of employees over at the hospital. We have our federally qualified health facility, our public health facility. We have multiple private practices that, you know, our social workers, our behavioral health folks, our dentists are all in independent practices. So we'd be looking to attract and bundle all those folks into this program.
It looked like this proposal was previously submitted as almost a statewide, and it was rejected by a number of municipalities and regions. At least that's what I saw in the system. There was a HOPES application further up, and the language is almost exactly the same. So that was for $500-something thousand for the entire state. And this is for about half that much for one county. So it feels like to me I hear that there's probably a lot of providers and practitioners in this county who need outreach. But if we were going to serve the state for twice as much, you know what I mean? It just feels like that's a lot for this county.
Yeah, so I could tell you, like for physicians, 85% of our physicians in the state are located in 5 counties. So we're one of the 5. So our folks that are, you know, it's far different to be on the east. So on the eastern side, and we did have that bigger application, but because there wasn't decision-making bodies out there to make decisions for us, ours just stalemated. And I actually just learned 2 days ago that there were actually decisions on it, that we didn't get any notification of that. And so if you had the broader statewide program, you could pool resources. The fixed costs could be less for everyone, but if you're going to do things in a region by region area, you're going to have some costs where you don't have that ability to share. So, you know, I think our pieces is where could we get the best reach for our professionals to get out there and show proven results and outcomes, and then enhance that afterwards. I think since 2024, we also got legislation passed that provides for confidential treatment, privileged communications, and immunity. So those are 3 pieces that we hope and know once folks know about that they can get into a particular program and have that guaranteed, they're going to be more likely to into a program. But there needs to be lots of awareness and information and education on a continual basis to get that done.
That was a question I had, so thank you for answering that. Do you have any? Go for it. No, please.
I'm trying to get how shy.
Oh.
I'm never good with like meeting etiquette. Chairman, thank you.
No.
I'm never good.
And then I have another question. If you have one.
No, I think, I mean, it feels like there's impaired professionals programs, states, think that's what we're talking about. It feels like this is filling a big hole that is this education not happening currently where we're informing professionals or practitioners of the resources? I mean, it feels like that should already be happening. Is this taking it up a couple levels to really increase the effectiveness of it, or the goals of this?
That's a great question. So there's a couple of different pieces there. So the regulatory boards have an impaired physician or an impaired program, and that covers about 5 professions. And so you'd have to be in a crisis to get into that program. So I can tell you, and they had a changeover in programs at the state level where we had about 60 physicians that participated. I think now we have less than 10. They don't go out and talk about the program or sell it to those, so folks don't have it available until they have done harm. So once they've done harm either to themselves or to a patient, they're going to be in that program with the licensing board. Individuals don't know that they could go talk to another professional. It's those reporting requirements. So they're scared that they're going to end up in that monitoring program, so they just don't go anywhere. And so what what we know is that that's a huge barrier. Is they don't know they could go to what professionals. They're a very unique breed. So if you can think about physicians know how medication impacts you. They know about treatment. And so if they don't go to someone that can really catch them in what they're saying, they just can't go to any counselor. They have to go to someone that's used to dealing in the healthcare environment, and with healthcare professionals, there's an expertise. And we have individuals that have expertise in the nation, but typically with physicians in crisis, they go out of state to get that help. But we do have resources here. People just don't know about it. And so this is part of those 2 programs. And then with the new legislation, we're building a new program that has those provisions. And so they'll have that third pathway. And they have the employee assistance program too, but they just don't participate in the employee assistance program. It's too close to the employer and it's too close to licensure action. So they just don't go there. And it's just a big black hole that, again, these professionals that have been working in this for 70, 80 years, it's a hard nut to crack. So
With the employee assistance programs and the new legislation, do you foresee that more individuals will be taking advantage of that? Because were they even aware of the legislation that was passed, or the medically inclined associations promoting that happened? There's a lot of questions going.
right. So they're not going to be aware of the legislation passed. And so that's been a 2-year process to get that passed. So now that that is passed, then there'll be an association type based program that the groups can get together and start promoting. That will take over the next year to do that. So this grant funding slides right into that awareness ability. And that will be in-state programs and out-of-state programs through telehealth, digital help to get that done.
And is the organization applying for other metro region grants as well?
We are applying for other metro region grants. I'm glad to work if we ever had cost savings, we return money versus keep money. So we would either look for the gaps of the program to boost it up, but definitely would not expend money if we could achieve that cost savings.
So all your travel expenses, is that for the staff person or is that for the healthcare professional getting help?
So the lodging, and that would be related to the individual board members who are volunteers, who are experts in this area, to come into Lewis and Clark County and provide that programming here in our local area. So they'd be coming from Bozeman, Billings, Missoula as professionals that would be coming into the program area here to provide that education awareness. The staff person would be here locally. So it wouldn't pay for they wouldn't have travel needs.
That was one piece of the budget that struck me, was the costs were above the state rates of cost. And as far as a large budget is concerned and the limited funding we have, it did strike me because we have a hard enough time trying to fund the applicants we have, and not seeing those meeting the state rates was a small concern just of a funding stream.
In terms of a physician hourly rate?
Not hourly rates, the travel rates were above the state rate.
Okay, we might have miscalculated that. We do federal rate. We reimburse at the state rate following the federal rates. Is
And then we're above that.
Great, okay.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's high then.
Mhm.
And hotels like 110.
Depends on where. right?
Depends on where, but most.
Yeah.
130.
Like where can you get a hotel?
132.
132.
300 votes.
Right.
Oh my God.
You see, quite a bit higher in Kalispell,
Mm.
those kind of areas, but yeah, here in Helena might have a lower cost.
Yeah, the GSA is 132 for the year right now.
Any other questions for Ms. Branscombe?
All right, one quick one.
I can see you.
I'm like, I'm sure she doesn't know this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Since you're saying everybody's underground, do you have any ideas of percentage of healthcare professionals that suffer with an OUD?
Well, again, so that's difficult information to get regards to opioid, because we know that they're probably doing multiple substances. And we know there's 39% that have co-occurrences, right? So, I go back to the stats. If we take a look at that, I would say that within our community, we should see 65 to 70 healthcare professionals in some kind of a treatment program. And again, yes. And I would say that within our population, again, with our current program, which is what people look for the professional assistance program, we have, less than that number in that program statewide.
Do veterinarians fall under any of this? Healthcare, anything?
It doesn't in our current vision, but other states have expanded, the ones that have done the Safe Haven program, which is what we're implementing. Veterinarians are included now in one of those states, so.
And pharmacists?
Pharmacists are included in our program. Right now, our program includes, these are the boards that have already impairment programs, which would be pharmacists, dentists, nurses, and physicians, EMTs, physician assistants. So that's all the range of the nurses that are out there too. So and then behavioral health professions, which includes a lot of individuals as well. The veterinarians definitely need assistance too. All right. That's a good question. Sam.
Wheels are turning really fast.
That's good. Last one, Montana Meth Project, Fentanyl Prevention, Education, and Outreach. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Amy Rue, the Executive Director of the Montana Meth Project. I have been with the Meth Project for 18 years and have been on the front lines of developing a lot of the communication strategies, the prevention lessons, as well as the outreach initiatives, Paint the State, recording a lot of the personal testimonials that we've collected from real families across Montana as they struggle with meth addiction and what it's done to the loss of their families. And it's really with great urgency that we come to you and ask that we join the fight with you to educate Montanans about opioid use, specifically about fentanyl poisoning. The Meth Project has never done this in 20 years. We've really been very, very, very meth centric and really don't wade into other issues. But with a robust social and digital following, we have nearly approaching 250,000 active followers in the state of Montana. which is, we believe, third in the state to UM and MSU. As a nonprofit, it's a pretty strong audience, and it's a pretty big share of voice is what it's called in the digital presence. We are currently serving roughly 33 million impressions per month, which translate to 500 million times Montana residents see our work on an annual basis. As you know, Hank State has called young people to, kind of stir the juices inside them and extrapolate from the ads we've served them, from the lessons we've taught them in school, to produce anti-meth communications to their peers. A lot of the core strategies from the Meth Project's perspective has always been to use a peer-to-peer communication. We feel that, as savvy and cool as we as adults think we are, there is nothing better than some young person sharing content with a peer, because you and I believe each other, and, these adults are a little questionable. So we've taken that strategy forward with fentanyl. What we've done recently in the last year is we created a fentanyl prevention lesson. It's a 10-minute lesson that has been created by a high school senior, and it's to be used in classroom settings. It can be used online. It can be used by homeschool. The Meth Project happens to have the only meth prevention lesson that is accredited and recognized by the Red Ribbon Campaign nationally. We took a lot of those learnings, a lot of that framework, and what we've learned over 20 years to apply this again to warn teens about the risks of being poisoned. Last year, the statistic was 7 out of 10 pills confiscated in Montana were laced with a deadly dose of fentanyl. This is not something we could just sit on the sidelines and not utilize this audience to make sure that they are aware of this as well. So we really feel there's no other organization, government agency, coalition, community group that is in this unique position to share these risks with our residents. Meth Project has a 78% reduction in first-time meth use among Montana teens since our inception in 2005. And again, we have been privately funded to the tune of $60 million by private funders, only once receiving state funding from the state of Montana back in 2007. We received a $1 million gift from the state of Montana. That year alone, the state saved $200 million in the ancillary costs of treating methamphetamine, and that was according to the Attorney General at the time, that was Mike McGrath. The funds, again, are used for education, for outreach, and engaging these teens, spot prevention in your core communities. The core strategies, as you know, of the MOAT program include specifically a line item for prevention, and specifically prevention and education campaigns in schools. So I think the Meth Project is, again, uniquely qualified to answer that component of your funding strategy. We also know, according to SAMHSA, the value of prevention is really indisputable. For every $1 spent on prevention, Montana saves $7 in the downstream costs of treatment, child services, law enforcement, and incarceration. So it really your personal budgets to go toward prevention and help us get ahead of this communication process with our young people. Just
Could wrap up these.
okay, I was just going to speak about the granular reporting of the Meth Project. We just filed a 6-month report with Flathead County. If I could just give you a sentence or two from that report to show you how specific and analytical we can be with people's online activity. With both winter and spring ads placed in the Flathead region to reach both teens and adults, we saw a saturation rate of 120% of the entire county's population base in a 1-week period. given a low average of 56,500 adults, which are 18 and older, roughly 9,000 targeted teens in the Kalispell metropolitan region, 26% of that overall engagement came from Snapchat alone. During the winter marketing and outreach campaign, again, 76,509 Flathead residents viewed our fentanyl prevention lesson and accompanying teaser videos. That content, 30,000, nearly half of them, shared, commented, and pushed our fentanyl-related content to their peers. So we have very specific analytics that we can report on what people do online. When people go to the fentanyl prevention lesson, we're also noticing that the same user and the same IP address come back multiple times. We can tell the first time they land, an average on-site visit exceeds 6 minutes of people looking into our content and exploring content that they deem appropriate. So we're very excited about the initial response with this fentanyl prevention lesson and hope to get the same recognition from the National Red Ribbon Campaign. As you know, all of our content is free for anyone nationwide to apply for that.
Thank you so much.
Happy to answer any questions.
I have one. Fentanyl is your target now that drugs like xylazine become more prevalent and that they are Narcan resistant. And a big portion of this would involve that. How would you approach that? Or it's evolving all the time. So speak briefly just about kind of the evolving nature of the prevention.
Well, it's interesting. We have taken fentanyl as a really core focus, although opioid abuse is the focus of the meth project. We specifically did a fentanyl campaign because of poisonings. We felt that was the greatest risk. When we met with the DEA, they have given the meth project exclusive use within the state of Montana for their One Pill Can Kill campaign to say, brought to you by the Montana Meth Project. So if you follow us on Instagram or Snapchat, I mean, I don't know who might be on Snapchat. We have kids and nieces and nephews who do it. I don't even understand. But I will tell you that we have a lot of young people that, translate things we say and convert it into, teen speak. So again, the education is evolving for us as well as new substances are coming onto the scene. And we want to make sure that we make our advertising and our campaigns look very much like a Montana campaign. We have done, and we're worried about the summer with kids partying at the lake and camping and being in remote areas and who's got the Narcan, and really just trying not to double up on some of those other efforts where people are distributing Narcan and what's already being done in the state to distribute that to our young people and adults for that matter. But we are really looking at this from a One Pill Can Kill broad base on opioid addiction and misuse.
Thank you.
So you mentioned a 10-minute lesson that was developed by a high school student.
It was developed by the Meth Project. It's presented by a senior, high school senior.
So you recruit a high school senior to then give the 10-minute?
She is on video. These are all digital assets.
Okay.
So that's how they're used nationwide or worldwide for that matter.
Okay.
The state of Montana, the fentanyl prevention lesson, we launched a campaign during Red Ribbon Week, the last week in October. Our lesson was used in state more than 1 million times in a 1-month period after October 26th. So that's almost one view for every resident we have. Meaning
And that was online?
that was online.
Okay, not in the schools.
They're using it in the schools. So the nice thing about the lesson is we created it so that it can go over in-school broadcasts. So we create what are called teaser videos, and teasers are 16 seconds and under. So they'll give you a quick fentanyl fact, and they can be played Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 4 teasers. And then on the 5th day, they do a 10-minute lesson that can cover the entire school. We also have created, it's called a fentanyl lesson in a box, where we give them sugar packets. Some of the sugar packets have been marked and they're actually saccharin, and they represent 7 out of 10. As these packets are being passed out in school, they can compare who's been potentially poisoned and who's actually gotten what they asked for. So that's part of the outreach as well, is, getting this hands-on and teaching teachers how to use new materials that have just been created for them this year.
Gentlemen, questions from you? Second.
And it sounds like you can, but the efforts can be targeted to Lewis and Clark County with a little bit. I mean, Wolf Creek will get some too.
Oh, we can hit it on a city block. Geofencing, no longer do in 20 years, how the digital market has changed. We used to have to, take over Dancing with the Stars and, buy ad blocks on 60 Minutes to make sure that we got a mix of the family in the room at the time. But if we know the habits of ourselves and our family, 99% of their information is coming over a mobile device, whether you're driving them to a game or, or you've got them in the car going somewhere, or maybe even in their bedroom, they're still on a mobile device. We geofenced, specific coordinates for the Flathead Glacier football game. We did a Snapchat ad. 2,000 people saw our lesson in a 4-hour football game. That's people in that region. And it's, again, a couple city blocks. We had 7 to 8 times those mobile devices had taken in our content. And those kids were probably like, oh my God, what did they get off us? But it was just constant reminders, constant. And we know from years past that people have to be touched 3 to 5 times a week for this stuff to, start settling in and start becoming part of your, part of your attitude. And people ultimately change the way they think about something before they actually act differently. And we've proven that several times with a survey that the Meth Project has privately funded called the Use and Attitude Survey, so that we watch how the perception starts to change. We also measure this using the Office of Public Instruction's, the Youth Risk Behavior Survey. And by doing that, we can see how teens are starting to change their perception about drugs that they take that aren't prescribed to them. And have you taken something from your mother's medicine cabinet? And would you take a pill if you were camping? And, and that's how we're finding about all this loss of life throughout, Montana. It's these, you trust a friend and they have 4 pills and 4 girls take 4 pills on a camping trip and one doesn't wake up. So we're just trying to really make this as top of mind as we have the conversation we have about methamphetamine.
Is it possible to see the lesson?
Absolutely, it's online. It's available online under Montana Meth, and you can see fentanyl lesson. So it's a 10-minute lesson. There are also the teasers. The teasers are on YouTube as well. But again, they were used 1 million times in the state of Montana in just a 1-month period.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming today.
Thank you for your consideration.
As I mentioned, we will discuss and then we will probably schedule a follow-up meeting to determine after we digest and all the applications have been thoroughly reviewed and if we go back to them, but within the next few weeks so that we can make any recommendations to the state board by July 10th. So do any of you have any other questions before we move on the agenda? Okay. Thank you all so much for being here today, and you're welcome to stay if you want to. It's open to everybody. Thank you all for your questions.
Would not want to stay. More meetings, yay.
City council meeting, I think. Well, thanks, please. Yeah. All right, so, do any of you have any questions before we move on to the next section? No, okay. The discussion of the request for the multi-region request submitted prior. I know that as one was mentioned that I guess it was ultimately denied. I know that my portal changed. The number, thank you.
Thank you so much.
The portal changed as far as what was available to review and what showed review. So it changed everything to just Lewis and Clark County. Did yours do the same?
When did that happen?
Between our last meeting and this one, my
Yes.
portal was just Lewis and Clark County.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was helpful because then I was
Well-
looking through all of them, but sorry.
I'm there
right now.
You are?
Still seeing. I was as of last week,
Hmm,
still
okay.
seeing everything and, you know,
Unless they just got rid of some, but, because it sounds like some were denied ultimately, but my thought for this, the year prior and the 600,000, in my opinion, is gone. We did what we did. The other groups weren't formed. We moved on and tried to get money out the door to try and make a difference. For moving forward, what I would recommend for this next starting fiscal year now, 26, is to put some of it aside for the multi-region, but maybe based on more around our population comparatively to the state, which we're about 10% of the state. That would be about $40,000 that would maybe be put toward the state efforts. And then as long as we had the opportunity to review those, if I'm understanding all of that correctly.
so,
Thoughts?
if I may, I
Yeah.
did speak with Stephanie McGowan, project manager, about this last week. Kind of similar questions, like,
Okay.
what exactly are you asking of this? And so you'll note that, the Montana Meth Project, Montana Professional Health and Wellbeing Program, the Hopes one we just heard about, and then also the Montana Medical Association, they were all initially multi-region requests. And now they told the MOAT, hey, we're gonna apply to regions individually. And so from speaking with Stephanie, we need as a committee to say, hey, we would like these applications to come in just to our region rather than the multi-region. And then you'd have a specific request just for what they're asking to do in Lewis and Clark County. It's not necessarily saying no to the project. It's just saying we want to see a specific application just for Lewis and Clark County. And then she would convey that back to each of the applicants. Right now, she just needs enough consensus among regions to say, we're gonna reject or not review these as multi-region requests, but we're willing to have them come back as specific region requests.
And Amy did reach out to me and asked about just kind of the process. And I told her that currently, this was as of when she contacted me, probably last month. I just said, we're just reviewing the ones in Lewis and Clark County. And so I said, however you choose to apply, that's the information I can give you, as I would give anybody. But that was just kind of how we were going about it, because not all the regions have formed and we're moving forward. And so then she did submit just for Lewis and Clark County, but that's what Stephanie's recommending them
I
to do.
think she is. And
Okay.
the state is no longer accepting multi-region requests because of the complexity of it.
Mhm.
I believe we're still waiting on one metro region to form, Cascade, Great Falls.
Louise,
And
get it together.
there is another one that is just formed. I don't
Wow.
think they've met yet, and I don't think they've seen the applications yet.
Interesting.
Is our region together, Region 4?
Yes. I believe Region 4 is. For the ones that are, yeah.
Because the thought behind it makes sense to me, and especially as some of these projects present, like,
Yeah.
if the Hopes project is asking for $250,000 from multiple regions, that's
Yeah.
makes me really nervous. So they went about it the right way the first time, but then we made it more difficult for them. So now
Right.
we're making it more difficult for them.
Well, if it's personally, if it's a statewide thing, they should apply to the regions and leave the metros out. Like the metros should go for just what affects our county. And then, there's region 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 through 5 and then not throw in the 8 metros with it, or I don't know, it just seems like a mess.
But from what Stephanie's requesting and what we have the ability to say, yeah, let's do that, would be none of the funding would change from us. And all applicants would just come to Lewis and Clark County,
If they chose to still
submit
pursue it.
one.
Yep.
To me, that sounds like the best and what we've been doing anyway.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
do we need to vote on that?
I think that is a motion to make.
Okay.
Yes, and again, it's just, she can't clean those out
Mhm.
until the committee says,
Would we get region 4? Anything for if somebody wanted region 4
I think they would have to apply to our Lewis and Clark Metro region.
and region 4, right? Okay.
Would we be made aware of anybody applying to Region 4 as well?
Maybe that's a question we can ask.
You'd have to request that information, because I don't think that
Yeah.
they've specifically, I mean, there's been multi-region requests, but not necessarily, I think, anything specific to just our region.
I would like to see that if we okay that, because then we can ask either in our questions or look for in the application, how are you working with the rest of the region, not just we've submitted 2 applications for the same amount of money and we'll see what happens, because I think that
Yeah, is the moat looking at that? Like, is there duplication?
I think they are looking to that to an extent. So the fentanyl project has put in a lot more.
Mhm.
Yes. And so Stephanie did mention that specifically. Yeah, I don't think that'd be a hard thing to add to their application, or certainly to let us know.
Mhm.
And Stephanie has access to all of that. So
Okay.
she could certainly let us know, and maybe that's a addition to an application change in the future. That I agree, that would be very helpful.
Well, and it might be kind of nice to know, because if there was something going on in the region, we're like, hey, we'd like to put some money towards that. If they hadn't applied specifically to us, it would just be nice to know what's going on in the region.
Or if they had a gap of $20,000
Right.
or something to fund a
Yeah.
project, we could help. I
Yeah.
agree.
Mr. Chair, I wonder if there might be an opportunity to organize this particular committee around when you want to entertain, rather than setting money aside. That, at the final quarter of the year, the committee will entertain multi-region or regional projects. If you wanted to prioritize it that way, I just thought I would offer that as another option.
I rescind my initial savings thought, because I didn't know that conversation had happened.
Yes.
That was just my initial put toward the state initiatives. But now knowing what I know, I think we should continue with what we're doing and see how projects come in. I don't, just because I don't, and now knowing too, these folks have done their due diligence, they submitted their application, now they're gonna be told to redo it.
Mhm.
So, and then with the amount that we have this year, we're under the amount of request for the year. So I also think that we have some flexibility there. Yeah. So,
And I will note, some of these applications date back to 23. And so I think this would be a good opportunity to see who still has a project considerably.
Yeah.
The naloxone project, there is different funding sources right now for naloxone. That,
and
Yeah,
that
the
has
state
changed
already
too.
has one.
and the state has
Get
it
it for
as
free out of the state.
the source.
That's
Yeah, exactly.
running dry though.
It had been shut down for
Hmm.
some time, and now it's back up and running
Oh.
again.
Just told it rain was not, because that's where we get ours for the Department of Administration.
Really?
So,
Yeah, I
yeah,
haven't heard that was up yet either.
yeah.
The county, Lewis and Clark County actually is gonna do a pretty large purchase with some criminal justice funds that we have available, and then public health is also going to significant purchase for our county
Yeah,
with SOAR funding.
well, DPHHS has money that they were gonna do their own projects with too, so if they decided, hey, let's do naloxone. Well, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a law that was passed that you can still use naloxone past the expiration date now,
Yes.
so
Yeah, and quite a bit too. I think it was a year or two.
that
It
was,
That was
it may have been 5, I don't know, it was a lot.
Well, for the sake of time, do we have a motion to the motion would be is there a motion to request that applications come to Lewis and Clark County, and we are open to also coordinating with Region 4? Everything.
I would,
I like
I would
that.
make them.
You will make that motion. Sure. All right. Commissioner, thank you. Second. James, thank you. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. I did not ask for public comment. Is there anybody online?
Believe that only person online is Joanne Wagner with Montana Free Press.
Okay, Jovan, I'm sorry, if there's any public comment, you're welcome to provide that. Or any around that motion.
Mr. Chair, she's
All right.
would like to speak.
So then motion approved. All right.
Okay, so question.
Yes, Miss.
Mr. Chair. Since we chose to meet today, so if we had recommendations for the moat, do we need to vote on any of these, or do we want to have another meeting right before the 10th? So this is not another 3 months.
I think our goal is that we scheduled today so that we had time, like the first week of July, to go back to the applications, make sure all the applications are done of the 4, and then have a remote meeting to have any final discussion and vote on any that we'd like to approve.
One other thing, if I might, Mr. Chair, I'm sure that a couple of those previous ones are going to put in a request. And for them to continue, and I think we've got down that St. Pete only asked for 1 year.
Yeah.
But didn't they have a multi-year request in there?
I don't,
We backed off on, I think we gave them 1 car instead of 2, and the idea was that then there would be no car the second year.
I think they were going to possibly submit another application, but that was up to them to do,
To do it.
to be reviewed, yeah.
Yeah, but I kind of had the impression that they were gonna be asking for some extra more.
And as we've been doing with the rest, my thought behind it is that if they didn't submit by this meeting, they would have to go to the next quarter, which is how we did it last year
But was that clear to them that they had to resubmit?
for a second year, yeah.
I believe it was.
Okay, so as long as it was, I wasn't sure that was the case.
Mhm.
Okay.
And that we reduced the amount to just 1 vehicle. I think what they were going to ask for was not a second vehicle, but a second FTE in the next application, if I remember. Because if we did approve it, the big chunk of what they needed was then done, and they would just back possibly if they have reapplied with a smaller request.
Was there like a NOFA? Did we broadcast out that we're entering into our second fiscal year? And if you're interested, I'm just wondering if we promoted it and do these. Did the folks we previously funded, did they know? I mean, do they know that we're already back and we're starting to look at another year of grants?
well, I
I
think
don't think-
because
Yeah, I haven't seen anything.
we take them whenever, it's not like
Yeah.
you said, we don't have okay, you have to have it by June 30th.
We're just rolling. But
Yeah.
those that did come in, we told them that we would do this annually.
Yeah.
What annually meant would be it was kind of up in the air because it depended on when.
When they got funded.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I will say, if I might, Mr. Chair, at the annual needs hearing for the CDBG grant program, which encompasses a lot of projects, a lot of nonprofits in our community. We did pull in a specific slide to let those folks know. So that this funding was available in addition to all the different CDBG programs and other funding opportunities.
Thanks, good job. You guys are awesome on it. I know that I have talked with organizations and continue to promote it just individually. When an organization brings up something with opioid use disorder or prevention and say, this is, you should apply, there's an application out here. So yeah, I don't know if I can also ask on the City of East Helena's website if we had a promotion and a link. I don't know if the county and the City of Helena would be willing to do the same, but I know it's on the City of Helena's website already, but I can ask that we have a link to that and encourage that as well. So
Yeah. Maybe some of Montana's fine news outlets, like the Montana Free Press, would potentially plug that this is an opportunity.
yeah,
All right.
yeah, very much so.
I'll say Joanne has covered this almost meeting for meeting, which is
Mhm.
pretty impressive.
Yes, she's been wonderful at our council meetings too, and published something recently. So yes, I agree.
Thanks, Joanne.
Well, we made a motion and that was approved. The next thing would be that we schedule a time. Well, is there any other public comment out there in the universe? No. All right. Thank you for your public comment. But of course. All right. Upcoming meeting for everybody. Maybe targeting the week of June 30, July 1st.
I am on vacation and will return late on the 2nd, but I could do a third meeting if you guys were so inclined. Or I can give you my votes now,
When do you leave for vacation, Colleen?
Sunday.
Oh,
Coming up.
nice.
Oh, good. The third works for me. Only because I would want to hear the discussion of it.
Okay.
Your comments.
Sure.
And with
Yep.
the discussion.
Yep.
Unless you all feel inclined to vote today. I don't want to take that away from anybody. Do you want time to digest this, or do you feel inclined to vote today?
I think I've got some preferences in mind with depending on what everybody else wants, but if you want to take some more time, that's fine too.
But are we gonna change our mind between now and the 3rd? That's my question.
The only thing I wanted to go back to was 2 of the budgets and look at those and maybe offer a difference because of budget.
Mhm.
That's the only reason I want to postpone. But if that's the only reason for me and you all feel comfortable to vote today,
Are you saying go back and actually revise their budget, say you can have this much and do this with it?
or offer that as a. But if I'm the only one in that boat and you are ready, I just don't want to, now I feel like I don't want to seem as if I misled the organizations that we typically don't vote, but we
Right.
typically, we never have, so I didn't think that would.
We can wait,
Thoughts?
we can wait.
Okay,
Yeah, I'm good for the meeting on the 3rd.
okay. Is there a time that works for everybody for an hour where we just have a discussion and vote?
I'm off all day, so
Okay.
whatever works for you guys.
Public meeting at 9:00 in the morning. Probably won't be too much, but we're certainly done by 11.
Okay,
Okay, so 11:00.
Usually, yes.
That's how I say that.
I can carry.
Then somebody will get long-winded.
you don't let them that day.
That's right.
That works for me. So
Okay,
we're saying 11 o'clock on the 3rd?
Or do you want to bump it a little bit later?
I mean,
11:30,
you know, but there's certainly, 1:30 or something early afternoon would be,
so 1:30 would work best for my schedule and for you all early then.
Indeed.
And just a virtual meeting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then I would encourage, if we would want to let them know that we're meeting, it's not no presentations required from them, but that they're welcome to join.
Do we have to? I'm just kidding. There's things that I want to say that I don't think that they want to hear.
Or just that we will be voting on that day. That there's a meeting.
30.
That's right. The new email is calling it prevention support.
It'll go, I'll get it either way, so.
Okay.
It will forever forward.
All right, so Thursday, July 3rd at 1:30 p.m.
Mhm.
And you all will be sending us a nice little invite for that. Okay,
With an agenda only being
Mhm.
decisions on each.
action, unless something comes up otherwise, but all right. Do any of you have anything further to add? Okay. Commissioner? You're all
No,
set?
sounds
All right.
good.
Ann and Amanda, thank you so much for all you
Yes,
do.
thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We would be a mess without you.
Yeah. And then I will call this meeting adjourned at 4:35 p.m. It's really working.
That's good.
Good job.
But, all right.